All right, welcome everyone. Good evening. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm going to get right to our special guest, and then we'll talk about some announcements later because I want to honor her time. But we have Miss Jennifer Murray from Hawaii, but she's originally from Massachusetts, and I forgot all about that. And I don't think I got your bio, but it's okay. Because the funny thing is, when I saw that Jennifer hit Pro 7 and I saw her face, I'm like, I met her. And so I met her when I taught Pro 5 a couple of years back, several years back. And I remember Jennifer was there. I think Julie Mai was there. And I don't know if anyone else from Hawaii, but those Hawaiian girls were on fire. And here they are, Pro 8 and new Pro 7. Jennifer hit Pro 7. So excited to have you on with us. So tell everyone more about you because I don't, like I said, I didn't get all the bio, but that's okay because I love seeing you and I love hearing your story. And so tell us, who you are, all about you, and then your road to Pro 7 because it's been a long road. It hasn't been overnight. And this is our leadership call here. So these are leaders that are Pro 4 and above. We've got some new Pro 4s to some Pro 4s that have been Pro 4s for a little while and Pro 5s for a little while. So everyone's trying to get to the next rank, right? So hearing your journey, how it was in 2 days, you hit Pro 7, right? It was a journey. And, some of the questions that come to my mind always is what made you stick in there, right? And then what shifted and what happened and how'd you get there? So I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer. I'm going to pin you here so everyone can see you. And thank you so much for being on tonight.
You're welcome. It's almost dreamlike to be on your call, honestly. You were at my Pro 5 Summit and you are from Massachusetts, so I always remembered you. And it was, yeah, a long journey. I made it to Pro 5 in 10 months. So my journey, I'm from Massachusetts. I was living out in San Francisco, sort of how I wound up on Kauai. I've been out here about 17 years, and my sister and I had a vegan restaurant in town here for years and closed that at the end of 2008 when the economy was tanking. And honestly, it was so sad, but it was such a relief too. We had 50 employees. It's so much to every 2 weeks have to write those checks and be so scared that you're not going to make it. So, and I wrote 3 cookbooks in the years that followed. And I was about to sign a 4th cookbook contract when this came along. And I did all of the requisite eye rolling and stuff at my friend who thought that I might actually be interested in this kind of a thing, and tried the product, and all my back pain went away. My migraines started going away. And my entrepreneur mind was like, wait a minute, like takes pain away. I know some people in pain, So that was how I sort of traipsed in. And that was back in the day. So that was 7 years and 4 months ago. And back then we just had the Vantage packs, right? So you signed up, you got 400 PV. But I did make it to Pro 1 my first month. I signed up on the first of the month, I remember. And made it to Pro 1 that month. And then I made it to Pro 2 the next month. And I made it to Pro 3 the third month. And then I kind of stalled. I was like, getting to Pro 3 was about as far as my mind could stretch, I guess. And then I went to an event and I sat through the 15 presentations. And I thought, okay, they're really trying to make this point. That event was at the end of October. So I got back, it was November. And my mind wasn't thinking, oh, these are the worst months of network marketing. No, I just thought 15 presentations. So I decided that I would do 4 presentations a week, that I would give LifeVantage Mondays. Mondays would be the day I would have 4 presentations that week. And I would spend 2 hours on Wednesday at my enroller's house because I knew I wouldn't focus on it if I wasn't being held accountable. And also she started editing a lot of my language. She started hearing, back then we only used the phone, no text, no email, just the warm voice. wow, we have come so far. She would hear the things that I was saying, and she was like, I couldn't tell you were selling anything. I did not feel any urgency from you. You know, like she really started, and I was like, what? Like, I feel like that's all I'm saying. And she's like, no, you're just sort of covering everything up with your discomfort, you know, and it helped me grow. She was really honest with me. That's Laura Bishop. She was also at the Pro 5 Summit, the three of us. It was hilarious. And so I stuck with it. It took me 2 hours on Wednesday to book 4 appointments for Mondays, and it didn't ever work out that they were all on Monday, of course, but by the time everybody, you know, was like, can we talk about this in January? Can we talk about this after the, I mean, I just heard that like so many times that by the time Christmas came, I remember being like, I don't know, maybe I can't do this. And then in January, I started getting people calling me going, so we're going to talk about that? And I was like, oh, you meant that. Oh, you meant that. And I got back on the thing. And I was a Pro 5 in April. That's what I remember. That's about as much detail as I can remember, is it just started rolling. And I really give a lot of credit to the fact that I stuck with those 15 presentations through November and December. And then in May or June of that month, we did, and if any of you go this far back, we did a double volume skincare sales, and I hit Pro 6 by like $50 because a couple of my teams just went on bonanza sprees. And that was it. That was the 1 month I hit Pro 6. And for 2 years, I was masquerading as a Pro 6, but I was really a Pro 5. And it was, you know, that's an interesting block, that 20,000 to 50,000. That's an interesting time for your mindset, you know? And what I remembered last month at the end of the month was that when I was so sick of not being a real Pro 6, that I really just made a decision in my mind. And I remember that it was 6 days before the end of the month, the 25th auto ship had gone through, and I was like 8,000 away. And I just said, no way, this isn't going to happen. It's happening. And it happened. And I never really backtracked. I always was able to keep 6 from that point. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what happened. It's like, it's a nice paycheck, right? I saw this like Zoom with Rachel Jackson, and she made this comment like, one of the worst things in this business is a little bit of success. And I was like, oh, that's so true. Like, it's really easy to feel comfortable at Pro 6 and to feel like everything's your fault at Pro 6 and to feel, I don't know. I went through a lot. It was 4 years at Pro 6, and it's not something anybody could complain about, but it messes with your mind, right? Like, why can't I seem to get past this this goal line? You know?
How far away were you from Pro 7? Like, was there kind of an average you were sitting at?
Yeah, well, I have one leg that had me well over 100,000 for a while, and I kept finding myself 20,000, like 20,000 short. It was ridiculous. I'd be raising up 1 liter, but it must have been slipping away somewhere else. And I'm not like Little Miss Tracker. I'm not in my back office looking at every number, seeing where things are slipping and calling people. So that's my bad, right? If I had been doing that, probably, you know, wouldn't have taken so long. And in May of this year was the first month that I really decided, like, I'm going for it. I'm going to be a Pro 7 this month. And it was interesting. I feel like I got a little psychologically defeated because there was another girl under Daisy Goodwin who was going for it, but it was sort of like in the bag for her. And I was feeling that like it's like a nightmare where you're just running as fast as you can, and this other girl's literally surfing, and it's just like all working out, you know? And I had something happen where at the end of the month, a woman who is someone in this community that I adore and respect and have wanted to be taking these products, and she has health problems, and she's ridiculously influential worldwide. It's mind-blowing. I finally get this woman. I finally get her, and she's enrolling, and I get on to Daisy's weekly opportunity call, and I see her last name, same last name on this Zoom. And I'm like, who's this person? And she's like, oh, that's my son's wife. And I was like, oh dear. Like, I was like, I'm sorry, you can't sign up with me. Your daughter-in-law is already in this business. This woman's like a pro 5 already. I mean, it was like a big loss, right? So just all this really to say that mentally you can be so, like what finally came to me, maybe even just like, within a couple of weeks, was like, there is this huge world out there. This is not the time in LifeVantage to get upset that one Pro 10 slipped away. Honestly, there's like thousands of Pro 10s left out there. And like, we need to just keep moving. And, I've been more, honestly, I think once I cultivated the generosity of spirit to keep helping this family, even though I'm getting nothing out of it, I feel like something grew and matured in me. And last month when we did the convention, and I asked my account manager, okay, at the 25th, how far away am I going to be? And she said, I think it came out to about 12,000. And Daisy and Julian, they're going, you got this, we're going to get there. In my mind, I was like, you guys are stressing me out. Like, I don't want to stress out. I don't want to get in the furnace. I don't want to be sitting in the fire. I'm chill. I need to relax. I can't have like all this like pressure on me, and I don't want to pressure other people. And they're just like, Jennifer, like, how many months have you been trying to stay out of this fire? Like, it's just a week. Like, do it, burn through it. And for 2 days, I let it totally stress me out. I was like, yeah, I'm doing it, but I wasn't there. And I watched Carrie Dickey's, if you watched her breakout session, the Ask, Believe, Receive. And just to be honest, since this is a group of leaders, like in my mind, I was sort of like, enough. Like, I get it with the syrupy sweet and the secret, and it's asking and we're believing and we're receiving. But it like seared, it like burned a hole in my brain. Like, I couldn't forget it for those 2 days that I was under the stress. I was like, ask, believe, receive. And then finally I just said, where am I breaking down in that cycle? Like, where am I breaking down? And I'm looking around my office and my house, and I'm like, okay, ask is everywhere. I feel like I've really embodied ask. Like, ask is out there. And I was like, believe, of course I believe. And then I really, really sat with that. And I was like, actually, I don't think so. I think I'm breaking down somewhere in this believe programming. And right when I decided to get honest about that, what happened? Someone in my downline called me, and she's like, how far away are you from Pro 7? And I don't even know why I answered the phone. I mean, I end up on the phone with this woman for 2 hours, and she's going, at that point, I'm maybe 10,500. I remember her going, oh, well, if 50 people get 200, or if like, and I kept being like, wait, say that again. Like, if 20 people get what, and then suddenly like seeing these little chunks made these bells kind of start going off in my mind. And all I could think toward the end of talking to her, and her massage therapist voice was just like soothing my soul, is like, I let the stress of it go. And all I could hear at that point was Daisy saying, well, Chris Michaels told me the way to get to Pro 9 is to get 0s to 1 and 1s to 2 and 2 to 3, and stop worrying about 9 and 6 and 5s and all of that. Like, just focus on. And for the first time, and this is where I end up sounding like every other person that ever crossed the Pro 7 line, right? I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I went through my back office. I went through the whole long list of people, and like, who is close to Pro 1? And that list was sadly long, and people were like 370 away and 500 away. And in their mind, that's like insurmountable. And I was like, whoa, like, I wonder if these people are sitting there thinking, no, I'm only at 500. There's no way I can make it to Pro 1. And so I made this list, Pro 1s to 2. I just wrote everybody down where they were at and how much they needed. And then the column of like, what would that give me, And so it's like 3 pages, 4 pages long, this list. And then I'm feeling like so good about it. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, whoa, like, this is going to be fun. Like, this is going to be fun. I'm going to call these people. I'm going to blow their mind. I'm going to get them to Pro One. They're going to be so happy about it. Like, and I decide and I add up the whole list of like what it will give me. And so I'm starting at 10,500 or whatever it was, minus this, minus that, minus this, minus that, minus that, minus that. And I get to the last one and I hit it. Zero. Zero, it said. Like, my freaking calculator said zero. Like, I was like this, like, the universe was just like, do you believe now? You know? And it was like, that was it. I don't think I slept much the rest of the week. It was like, believe was just like covered. And I spent the next 2 days like calling all those people, texting them like, hey. And it was just like the coalition of the willing. If people were not wanting to engage, that's fine. But people who were 200-300 away from their goal and didn't think they could do it with 4 or 5 days left, that broke my heart. And I literally felt like, oh, I trained you guys to like quit at the end of the month. I trained you guys to just be mellow and don't get in the fire. Don't worry about it. Like, there's always next month. Just get you know, and I felt horrible and I wanted to do it for them. I literally was like, oh, I just want to do it for you. I feel so bad that I trained you to not know that the last 5 days of the month, like, miracles can happen, anything can happen, but nothing happens when you don't do anything, you know? So we just did it, you know, like we just started, whoever wanted to help me with their own particular downline, we just started working to get 0s to 1, 1s to 2s, and 2s to 3. And we did, like, so many people made it, and accidentally people made 4 and people made 5. And that wasn't even like really the goal. It was just to make like, and there were some people like, oh, well, if this girl under me gets there, then I'll only be 210 away. So I'll just place that order. And I was like, no, there's 4 days left. You don't have to place a $250 order. You could find a customer. We're selling Axio. This is exciting. Like, let's see who else you can get. And then they're sending me messages. I sent out 5 messages after I got off the phone with you, and I got 2 yeses, you know, and I just was like, this is the business. This is the business. And now I'm clearing my schedule from the 25th to the end of the month of every month, because this is all I want to be doing, is helping people do the thing we're all here to do. That's the mystery. That was the big like solution, like, do the thing we're here to do and care about these people who just made an investment or think that it's totally hopeless and haven't ever even hit Pro One. And just show them, like, I didn't care if someone was at 0. If they wanted to get to Pro One and they were willing to send out some messages, I was right there working with them. And the funny thing was looking back at the list after and seeing that probably only half of them really did it. And everything else was just a miracle. Like, honestly, like 3 days before, the same massage therapist said to me, you know, it's really cute how you want everyone to get to 3 and you want them to get to 2, and they like it and they're enjoying your attention, but they're going to work 10 times harder if you tell them that you're close to Pro 7. For you, they'll work 10 times harder. That's the kind of people that are in this business. And I was like, no, that's unacceptable. No one's doing this for me. This is not about me. I can't handle it. And her and my sister just worked on me. They were like, seriously. And all I could think in that moment was, I'm going to break down at receive. I got all this way. I got all that belief. And all I have to do now is just let them do it for me, like she's saying they want to already. And I'm going to break down at receive after 7 years and 4 months and all this effort. Like, what's the matter with me? And so I just was like, okay, yes, you tell them though. I can't say it, you know? And then they just went out, and then that was it. Then I was on like a train I couldn't stop. And it was so beautiful and it was so powerful. And I, right up till the last minute, I mean, I could have stopped and bought the volume so many points on that Saturday. And I was like, oh, no way. They're having fun and they're meeting their goals. And I'm not going to take that away from them by saying, I already made it. It's okay. So, okay, I'll stop talking now, but that was my super exciting, sleepless, not a lot of food week.
That is so amazing. But it I mean, like what you pointed out, like Carrie and I love the end of the month. We start right after the 25th, we start looking and we start calling and who's going for it, right? And it's so much fun when someone is going for it. I mean, we had two people going for 4 and 5 last month, and it was exciting to get them there. And then people now with the club, right? And the pool, right? Well, the pool, with the pool, people that had four and they were trying to get that fifth one, right? I mean, and you got to let people do it for you, because when you succeeding shows them that they can succeed. It doesn't matter what level they're at, 1, 2, 3, but if you can get to one, then you can get to two. You just got to do what you did. Like I always tell people, how do you get to elite is you do what you did at the beginning and you just don't stop doing that, right? And then you keep talking to people, you keep building it, you keep looking, you keep searching, right? And you're growing at the same time. For whatever reason, you needed all those years of growth so you could be ready to receive it. You probably haven't figured out what was the block in there, that why you couldn't receive it. But the more you work on that, now you'll fly to 8, the more that you work on that. So I think that's so inspirational. Absolutely. We have people in similar spots like that are 6s, and that 7 is like, oh, you know, almost there, and people that are 7s looking at 8, right? And 5, I mean, the whole gamut of it here. But yeah. Any questions? I know Carrie wants to say something, but if you have a question, you can unmute, and I'll turn it over to you, Carrie.
Oh my gosh, I was just going to say my phone is blowing up. Like everybody is just loving what you shared. And like someone's like, so raw, so relatable. I love her story. And I think it's so interesting because honestly, our stories are so different. But I think that's great. It shows there's all different paths, right? But so I love it. Yeah. So who's out there? Who's got questions for Jennifer? Because this is awesome. And I do think, when you said like it was really interesting, the block from 20 to 50, right? I think that's so true. And I think, so many people here feel that, to be honest, right? And that's normal. And just I remember that double point thing. That was horrible and just such like a mind screw. Sorry.
Hey, listen, almost everybody on here went through that. Like we hit 9s because of those double points. And then I think it was 2 years after that I truly hit 9, right, Carrie? I think it was 2 years later that we truly hit 9. I mean, we were creeping towards it. And then from that point on, it's been solid growing, right? So
interesting how it gets in your head, right? And then interesting just how it transformed over those last few days of the month. But go ahead, whoever's out there and wants to ask, because this is like crazy fascinating to me. Well, I'm a numbers freak. I'm not going to lie. I am totally the numbers freak. So it's such a different approach. But I mean, I know that my way certainly doesn't fit everybody. So that's why I love to hear other ways.
Right. I just want to say such a good job, Jennifer, because you learned so much by stepping up and doing what you did. You learned so much about your team, right? And what you need to give and receive, right? But the neat thing is you've learned, I put in there, map it out. That's what I did. I mapped it out. I mapped it to 5, mapped it to 6, mapped it to 7, because once you have it, then you know what you're focusing on, right? And then the best, funnest part is going in your back office. Like you said, there's always so much money left on the table that we don't realize. But when we get to go back there and get excited, because a lot of people, if you go in there and you look at that leg, and they go, yeah, well, they're not really doing anything. No. Let's go down here. What about, okay, so Cindy's ready to get to Pro 2. But if I can tell Debbie up here that Cindy's getting ready to go to Pro 2, that puts them almost at Pro 3. It changes everything. And that's where you get all that excitement and energy going at that last time frame that just really launches you. So great job. Good job. Congratulations.
Thank you. I think that thing of, and I've done it for people, like, okay, this person wants to get to Pro 7, like it's such a dream, right? It's like, I'm going to help someone pull off a financial miracle. I'm going to help someone's like pipe dream become a reality. And because you want to know that it's possible for you, but when it's time to like point back at yourself, and I think that what's interesting is I got a lot of bookings for coaching calls after that. And after I spoke on like our team Zoom, and people, I was like, well, if you liked my talk, then let's talk about ask, believe, receive, and let's see where you're breaking down. And what I found was a lot of people, because I think I got really emotional and even started crying when I started saying, like, when you feel the energy of like dozens of people pointing their goodness toward you, like it's its own fire that you have to sit in. And it felt so uncomfortable, but I was really trying to say, like, no, like it's what they want to do. You're not twisting anybody's arm, So we were going through in these coaching calls this ask, believe, receive thing. And a lot of people were, I think, especially mothers, like receiving, you're just like giving. But when I really tracked it with people, most people were breaking down at ask. Most people weren't actually breaking down at believe or receive because they haven't even felt comfortable asking. Like there's some shame, there's some, cultural, imprint there that it isn't okay to ask for yourself like a financial miracle or a dream that lucrative and that big. So there's a lot of deep stuff about being clear that you're asking for it,
Yeah.
and when you're scrounging through your back office trying to figure out where every little 200 points is, you're asking, like there's a loud ask in there. So
And that adds up, the 200 here, 100 there, 50 here. I mean, that all adds up, but you created that energy getting everyone involved, right? Everyone trying to grow, everyone trying to hit their rank. And it's that cascading effect, right? When you get it, someone else gets it, then someone else gets it, and it just rolls right on up.
yeah.
So yeah. So behind me is like my dream board. And the bottom half of it is I've asked people who wants to be Pro 7 and send me what you want as a personal gift. And it's so, and I'm gonna, even to this group that's here, there's people on here that haven't sent me their picture and they haven't sent me what they want. And it's so funny that people hesitate that way, right? And then they can't figure out, especially a lot that are moms on here, like we always do so much for our kids. Like I'll give anything to my kids first before me, even, all these years. But some people were like, they couldn't think of a personal thing that they wanted for them. And I'm like, and it was interesting how difficult that was, right? Like someone put a computer. I said, you really want a computer, but well, I got a crappy computer. I'm like, but that's what you want as a personal gift. I'm like, that's okay, but that wouldn't be my personal gift, right? I'm like, think of, a handbag, like a Gucci, a Fendi, right? Or Jimmy shoes, like something like you would never buy for yourself, right? But it's that block of that we have that, that's too much, right? Like, but then if you are going to get to the elite status, you have to think abundantly. You have to think that it's there for you. It's there for your team. But you have to show the way, Jennifer, because you're going to see people now. And like you said, block out that end of the month. That is critical. And, work with them again, like go back. Okay, you've hit one, like let's get 1.5, right? Celebrate that. That's great. Or hitting one again until they're comfortable. Sometimes it may take someone 2-3 months to hit one, to that, then that finally shifts, and then they go and okay, now I can push a little bit more and go to 2. Yeah. But it's really that mindset. It's all in our heads. I mean, because everybody on here, everyone that gets started makes at least a couple of phone calls, right? They get a customer or 2, right? So it's that same process. It's not different, except instead of doing it 5 times, you have to do it maybe 5,000 times, right? So what? Thomas Edison had to do it 10,000 times to finally get the light bulb, right? And so, why should we quit before hitting that number, right? So you have to keep doing what you did. And it's those little baby steps that add up to, the greatness. So excited for you.
I think this is such a good lesson for me because I don't know, like in my head, I didn't have a problem asking. I'm just being honest. I literally, like, I had to name my cart, no joke. in the thing. And I put, well, I say, see it, believe it, achieve it. So same kind of thing, ask, believe, receive. I literally named my car, see it, believe it, achieve it. Like, so it's so fascinating to me to just like things that I would think just that just to hear it from just such a different perspective. I think that's great.
Well, I think that's the team thing too, because what I noticed was like, what people mostly needed from me was like my belief. Like in my mind, I was like 370, honey. Oh, we got this. Like, I'm not afraid to talk to people. I'm not afraid to call, like after all these years, I feel bulletproof. Nobody can knock me off of the confidence that I feel. So it's like when I offered that to people one-on-one, they absorbed it or they used me for it. And I was like, oh, this feels so good. This is the team, thing. And yeah, I just don't want to leave anyone hanging anymore. If they want to get there, then I want to help them. And it's all, and so many people were like, oh no, I don't know if I'm going to make it. What if I don't make it? And I just kept saying, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like the thing is that we're not going to give up until it's midnight Mountain Time. Like it doesn't matter if you make it, because we're going to end up into next month stronger. You're going to have one more customer. You're going to have one more distributor. You're going to have one more person to follow up with. You're going to have, it's just by the time it's the first, it's not going to be a restart, because we're never going to stop. And it's so funny because Julie Mai was trying to re-rank to Pro 8 that month. And then she broke down, a few days of, what? It's 15,000. I can't do it. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. One more customer, one more distributor. I don't want to hear it from you. You're no different than anybody else. She's like, oh, thank you. And she made it. Like we all made it. And, yes, did some people not make it? But it's like, there is some chemistry, there is some amount of randomness or whatever you want to call it. There were people and there always will be. And we have someone trying to get to 7 this month. And I'm doing the same thing with him. I'm like, it doesn't matter if it's 3 months from now, but every month it's this month. That's how we're going to handle it, because it's just going to put you in such a better place. But it is going to depend on how many people under you are also aligned and linked in. Once I felt the links, then I knew it was unstoppable. So, there's flexibility even in the definitiveness of the date or whatever, but there was just a point where I just knew it didn't matter if it was last month, because so many people linked in and were engaged that I was like, I get it now. I know what to do now. Now I know how to get to 7, and now I know how to help you do it. So as long as, the links come, then